What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And as per usual, on one of these videos, today I'm going to be reviewing The Mandalorian Chapter 15, giving you my thoughts, completely spoiler-filled, no reason to not do non-spoilers, or no reason to do non-spoilers, because, well, there's really not a lot to say, because it's just a giant spoiler. So please go watch the episode. Let's get right into it. So basically, the basic plot, just like set up in the last episode, Mando goes over to get Bill Burr. Him and his crew his crew of four. He's got him, Cara Dune, Boba, and Fennec Shand, and it's just really surreal to just have Boba just being a part of the team now. I just found that really funny in the way that he just casually referred to him as, "Hey, Fett, go get the ship started." Stuff like that. It's just like, oh my god, it's pretty unbelievable. But they're able to get Mayfeld to join the group. I'm not sure why he decides to help out. I think he just feels bad for the child, I guess, and then they go to this planet where they have to break in and get these Imperial codes to find out where Moff Gideon's cruiser is, or to get the coordinates on where it is, and antics ensue. They have to get some sort of very explosive materials into the base, and then they break in, and then some sacrifices have to be made, some creeds have to be given up, and there's just a lot of cool stuff that happens. So let's just talk about it. So, as I said, it's just really surreal to see Boba now being a part of the team, just casually being referred to as Fett, and seeing like the interior of the Slave One and how it actually works and how it's like on a weird rotating joint. Stuff like that's just really cool to see. Actually see, the inner operating system of like the Slave One. So that was just pretty cool. And Bill Burr, a character that I really did not like, an episode that I really did not like, now has been redeemed and now has like real importance. And this episode is one of my favorites of the show, not just of the season, but of the entire show. It did a lot to remedy some of my problems with the show. It did everything that I love about the show. It humanized certain aspects of Star Wars. It made episodes in the first season, more important. It gave certain events more significance. It made me appreciate more episodes that I maybe did not appreciate as much before. So yeah, this episode really was just it's just really a treat, and I really like this episode a lot, despite the fact that it doesn't really have a ton of epic, oh my god, this character's coming back kind of moments. But that didn't really bother me, because I like it when it's just more focused on the plot and the characters. And that's what this episode was, and it finally gave our Mandalorian character some character development, which I think has been sorely lacking over the course of pretty much the entire show. So, let's just talk about it. Mayfeld, this character who we just thought was, this kind of typical asshole crime bounty hunter guy, and there was just some throwaway line in the first episode he was in The Prisoner, where he said something about being an Imperial sharpshooter. Here we get some real development. We find out that the reason why he acts the way he is or the reason why he acts the way he does is because, he's just traumatized by the events that happened in his past, and that he was a member of Operation Cinder, which I believe was Palpatine's plan to just commit like a lot of genocide if he was ever to die. And that was pretty interesting to see, and to see that he's not really a completely horrible guy. He desires to do the right things most of the time, but he's just really traumatized and suffers from PTSD. So that was interesting to see. That was just a very, very interesting kind of character growth there. And then also Mando having to give up the Mandalorian creed, having to take off his helmet and to scan his way through, and for the baby, for the kid, the person that he cares about most. And that was just really hit hard. That was actually a very poignant scene, and one that I really thought worked well. Like when he took his helmet off and you just saw Pedro Pascal's face, you really saw like what he was feeling. He was like, I'm doing this for the kid. And it just really hit hard. And, Bill Burr sees that, and he decides to help him out and bail him out from that officer. And, yeah, it was just it really affected me, this episode. And it had a lot of interesting questions, like moral questions. And it did something that I appreciate a lot of these other shows do, like Mandalorian, Clone Wars. They make the conflict in the original films very like, they make it less black and white. It's not as generic as what it was. It's not just good and bad, you know? And you're seeing, like, when Mayfeld talks to Mando in the truck, and he's talking about, you know, these people, they just, like, when they drive through a little village of people, Mando looks at a kid and kind of, I think, sees himself reflected in that kid. And you know, Mayfeld's like, whether we're Empire, New Republic, it doesn't matter to these people. We're just trespassers on their land. You know, we're all the same. And, like, what are the real rules? What are the rules? Like, can you not take your helmet off, or can you not show your face? Because now you have a different helmet on, you know? Like, what are the rules? And it seems like the rules change. Everyone has a line they don't cross until things get bloody or something like that. He said something like that. And then you see that at the end, that Mando is willing to take it off to save the kid. And that's really, that adds a lot of layers to this show. It adds a lot more intrigue to this stuff. And once again, makes it seem less black and white. Because when they're able to get that shipment of goods to the Imperial base, they're hailed as heroes. They're hailed as like, oh, you guys are the best, and they get rescued by the Imperials, and you see the Imperials saluting, and they even say in the episode, never thought I'd be so happy to see stormtroopers. But, like, you're actually seeing, like, wow, the Empire's celebrating, you know, they're still human beings, you know, they're still people under those helmets, and they're still able to, you know, celebrate, and it's the first time you really see them, like, in a positive light. You're like, wow, they saved them. You don't see that a lot. And that was just a really cool thing to see, you know? It was just, I just really liked that. I liked this episode, unlike a lot of episodes in this show, really decided to dive deep into a lot of interesting moral questions, while also delivering, you know, the action and the fun and the entertainment that, you know, people want to see. It does have some interesting questions that add a lot to really just the entire Star Wars universe. And they make, like I said, it makes it seem less black and white. It doesn't seem like, you know, just some, you know, good versus bad. You know, for the first time we're seeing the Empire as heroes. We're seeing this kind of idea of like, okay, is the New Republic really good? You know, are they entirely morally correct people? Like, you see Bill Burr at the very beginning, and he's in prison, and he's like when he doesn't want to comply and go with Cara Dune, they threaten to, you know, stab him with a freaking electric stick. And that seems more in line with something the Imperials would do, like torture Leia on the Death Star in A New Hope. Like, that seems more like something the Empire would do. So we see that from the very from the onset of the episode, just the very beginning. We get introduced to that question. It's like, okay, are they entirely correct as well? Like, they're just two sides of a war, and in war, neither side is really correct, you know? So there's just a lot of interesting moral questions introduced here, and I really appreciated, you know, getting, like, to go deep into that, and, like, that when Bill Burr says, you know, some people can't sleep at night or something, and at the end, when he shoots the canisters to blow up the base, he says, now they can sleep at night, or something like that. So, or they need to sleep at night. So that was really cool, you know? Like, I really liked that, and, I just really appreciated that, and I need to watch it again and think more about it, but there's probably even more than I'm touching on right here, but there were a lot of interesting moral questions introduced, and just a lot of stuff that happened for the characters, especially Mando. We finally got some real development for him and got an idea of, like, how far he's willing to go to, you know, get the kid back, to save the kid. Like, he sees this as his kid, and he's going to do what he can to save him, you know, and I really appreciated that, you know, actually getting some real growth for him, because in the first season, his main arc was, you know, going to coming to trust droids again, or whatever, after the droids killed his family, and then he trusts IG-11 or whatever. And then in the first episode of this season, Amy Sedaris draws attention to the fact that he's more fond of droids now, but that doesn't really play into the character arc as a whole. Like, that hasn't come back into play at all in this season, besides it being mentioned in an offhand line in the first episode. This is a real thing, like a really big step for his character. He actually took the helmet off. People saw him without the helmet off, even though he took it off in the first season at the end and we saw his face already. That was in front of a droid. Now he's officially broken the code now. The Mandalorian creed that he took up. humans, living beings, saw him with his helmet off. And he did that all to save the baby. So that was really cool. And I know a lot of people are going to complain there wasn't enough fan service. Like, I've already seen people complaining that Boba wasn't in it enough, which I just think is kind of ridiculous. Boba had some pretty cool moments. He was able to come in to save them at the end and then Slave One and drop one of the seismic charges from Attack of the Clones. And that just makes me so happy, because as a fan of the prequels myself, I really want to see more stuff like that, and it just shows a lot of respect to all sorts of fans. Like, that was definitely a prequel fan service moment, and it worked well. I really appreciated that. It made sense in the story. It made sense that they would use that tactic in that situation, but it was also a nice moment for the fans of the prequels to be like, wow, you actually respect us, you actually show attention to that, not like the new trilogy where they never say Anakin's name and they basically ignore the prequels entirely. So I really appreciate that. That really made me happy. And yeah, Boba being there, he's got a new paint job on his armor. I don't know how in that, I assume that short span of time between episodes, Boba was able to completely paint up his armor. It looks spiffy and brand new. I don't know how he was able to do that, but, it's just cool to see that Boba's now part of the crew. Like, the ship they're using is the Slave One. Boba's now a part of the crew. And if you were to ask me if you were to tell me a year ago that in The Mandalorian, we would have seen Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, and we would have seen Boba Fett flying around in this Slave One being a part of the Mando crew, I'd be like, you're insane. But here we are, and it's happening. So that's just so surreal, and it's just so cool. But there's this officer, he's talking to Bill Burr. They're having a drink after Mando takes his helmet off. Bill Burr bails him out. They have a little drink, and this guy's just talking about all the lives lost, and Bill Burr's getting really mad at him because he's just showing no respect for, like, the life of innocence. And Bill Burr just shoots him. They break out. Boba flies in with the Slave One in just a really cool sequence of events, and they take off. They leave Bill Burr there, which I found really strange because, if anything, the Imperials that survived that explosion on the base would be hunting him down. So I don't know why you'd want to leave him on a planet where he's probably going to be hunted, but whatever. They're just going to leave him there. Hopefully he doesn't get killed. That was just kind of strange. That was honestly the weakest point in the episode for me. It was just very strange. But we cut to Moff Gideon at the very end, and Mando sends him a holo recording saying the exact same words he said to him in the 7th episode of the first season. So the same episode in the first season at the end, Moff Gideon shows up, says, "You may have some idea of what you are in possession of, but you do not." And here we are. Mando calls him. He says, "You have something I want. You may have some idea of what you are in possession of. Soon he will be back with me. He means more to me than you will ever know." And Moff Gideon actually looked slightly concerned. Like, he didn't, I thought he was going to grin or something, but no, he looked actually slightly concerned by that message that was being sent to him. So the battle's coming to you, Moff Gideon. And then it ends off there. And Nick Famuyiwa, I want to say, or Rick Famuyiwa, I think, is the director's name. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but I believe he directed Chapter 2 and Chapter 6 of the first season, which makes sense because Chapter 6 was the first episode that Bill Burr was in, and we now know that it was pretty much the plan the entire time to bring that character back and for him to actually kind of have a redemptive arc, which I really appreciated. I really appreciated them actually giving him some character and actually giving him an arc, and I just really liked that. So that makes me appreciate Chapter 6 a little bit more, even though I don't really love that episode. It still makes me appreciate it more because it did have more significance than I initially thought. And now I'm going to be less quick to judge episodes in this show because I still don't love Chapter 5 and 6 from the first season, or Chapter 4 for that matter, but I shouldn't be so quick to judge because those episodes did have more significance than I thought, because we actually saw Boba Fett way back in Chapter 5 all along. So, those episodes do have more significance, and I have total confidence now in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and everyone behind this show that they'll be able to pull off all these plot points. None of them will be left hanging, and I'm positive that everything will be resolved. So, very happy about that. Also, this episode was it felt to me like a better version of Chapter 12 a few episodes back, Because my problem with that episode was it was just an elongated chase scene for the most part with no real consequence because we're halfway through the season. There's no way that anyone's going to die. This episode had more tension. We had, characters on their way trying to deliver something, and they were being chased down, and they had this heavily explosive material that could get blown up if they go too fast, or if these pirates are able to blow it up. And that was my problem with the chapter 12, was that they get there, they're able to accomplish their mission with ease, and then we just have an elongated chase scene on the way back. And I know nothing's going to happen on the way back. This one switched up the formula, and it had the chase scene being what we start with, which is what I appreciate, because, that's what I think works better, because there's actually a little bit of tension there, because we have a ticking time bomb sort of situation. And there was actually more tension there. So I really appreciated that. And I really just loved this episode. So now let's talk about what I think will happen next. So I thought maybe he'd bring together a crew, like Mando would pull together a crew. But clearly we've got this one crew. We've got Mando, we've got Boba, we've got Fennec, and we have Cara. And they're going to go and just launch an assault on Moff Gideon's cruiser and try and reclaim Baby Yoda. Now, because they set this plot line up, or this plot thread, and I know that plot threads in this show aren't always resolved in the same season. An example of that is the Boba Fett plotline set up at the end of Chapter 5, which they didn't bring back until Chapter 14 of this season, or the 6th episode of this season. So, yes, I know that they don't always wrap up the plot lines in the season itself, but I feel like we will probably have this plot line wrapped up. I do think we will see Bo-Katan show up in the finale. I think she will launch an assault at the same time as Mando and try and reclaim the Darksaber. And this episode has to be over an hour long in order to wrap up all these plot points, because the finale of the first season was 2 episodes. It was a 2-part finale. This penultimate episode did not feel like part 1 of a finale. The next episode is going to be a standalone finale, and it has to be long. It has to be long to comprehend all this plot. It can't be just 30 minutes. I don't know who's going to direct it, but I know that they're going to probably wrap all this up. They have to find a way to wrap it all up in a good amount of time, and I feel like it has to be more than 30 minutes. It really does, or else we won't be able to wrap this up. So my predictions are, we're going to see Bo-Katan. We're possibly going to find out what they're trying to do with Baby Yoda. We're going to see Moff Gideon fight some people with the Darksaber. And maybe we won't even see the end of that battle. What I think would be the coolest thing ever is if they wrap this up, we're in the middle, the final scene is we're in some massive battle scene. Moff Gideon's about to strike down Din Djarin, and then a green lightsaber blocks it. And then we see Luke Skywalker or Ezra Bridger. I don't know. They both have green lightsabers. It could be either. But I honestly think that's how they're going to wrap it up. We're going to have a big battle. Someone's going to step in. A Jedi will step in at the last moment, save Din Djarin or something. We see either it's Luke or Ezra or someone. And then that's where the season ends. I feel like that's the most likely thing. I feel like in the midst of battle is where it's going to end, and we're going to see that continue in the next season, because I can't see all of this getting wrapped up cleanly with, a nice little bow on top at the very end. This has to end, in the midst of battle. But those are my predictions. Those are my thoughts on The Mandalorian Chapter 15, The Believer. A really good one. This is honestly one of my favorite episodes of the show. I appreciated the real moral questions that were introduced, and it was just a lot less black and white than the rest of the show, and I appreciated that. This was a really great episode, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the finale. So you guys, please let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of The Mandalorian Chapter 15, The Believer? And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.